Hey guys, welcome back to the Y Project. Today we have Miss Lee. Hello.
Hi.
Thanks for joining us this evening.
Thanks for having me. I've been a really big fan of the show for a long time. So thanks for having me on.
Well, we're really glad you're here. When I was starting this project, I was like, we have to have Miss Lee.
I feel like I have to come up with something really good now. So thanks. Okay. Yep.
You will. You will. Well, let's jump right in. The first question is what motivates you to come to work and how did you get into counseling?
Yeah. So when I first got out of graduate school, I actually lived in Washington, D.C., and I worked for an international nonprofit agency. So I traveled back and forth to the former Soviet Union, so like Russia, Kazakhstan, Georgia, Azerbaijan. And I loved my work and it was fascinating. But I didn't like living in Washington, D.C. very much. I didn't feel super connected. I felt like nobody was really from there. Nobody really stayed there. It was really transient. And I'd visited the Pacific Northwest a few times because I had family that lived out here. And I wanted to get away from Washington, D.C. as much as possible. So I quit my job and I moved out here and I worked in a coffee shop. And I eventually met through friends of friends somebody who knew that there were a lot of Russian speaking students and a large Russian community in the Mount Baker area. And so one day I walked into Mr. Johnson's classroom and I told him I wanted to volunteer because I knew how to speak Russian. And I just wanted to do something that was like, I don't know, different than working in a coffee shop. And so I started volunteering my time. And after volunteering for a while, I got a position as a paraeducator, like Mr. Spock. And I loved it. And the irony in all of this is actually I grew up in a really small town in Wisconsin with a population a lot like Mount Baker's. And it was rural. And my dad was our school counselor. And I think if anyone at the time would have told me that I was going to have my dad's job, I just would have laughed in their face because there was absolutely no way I was ever going to do that. Um, but then, I don't know, I got out to Mount Baker and I started working with like teenage students, high school students. And I think I had loved my job in DC, but I was always working far away from the people that I was, we were, I mean, not just like miles apart, but continents apart, countries apart, oceans apart. And I never really knew if what I was doing made a difference. And I think that got to be difficult after a while. And I think all of a sudden I got connected someplace locally, like Mount Baker High School, and I saw the people I worked with every day. And I saw the students I worked with every day. And I felt like I was creating relationships. And I guess in the process of doing that, I realized that I really loved high school students, which is funny because I always joke that no one could actually pay me to be back in high school. Although ironically, I guess I'm being paid now to be back in high school. But I don't know. At the time, I was like, I don't think so. But I don't know. I feel really comfortable there. And I think sometimes I feel super connected to the students, but I think the students help me feel really connected too. And all of a sudden, I can go to work every day and feel like what I do might make a difference. And it might not, but it just feels so much more tangible and real than anything I was doing before. And I don't think I would have realized that if I hadn't done what I was doing prior. And now I think that I went through that and I had that experience. I can truly appreciate getting up every day and going to Mount Baker High School where I can connect. I think I just really missed that connection. So that's why I go.
That's so cool. I love that you talked about like sometimes you need to experience the whole journey before you appreciate the end.
Yeah. Yes, I did not have an A to B journey at all. I took several zigs and zags along the way, but I definitely think, I mean, I didn't really become a counselor until I was in my early 30s. Like I went back to graduate school when I was in my early 30s. So, and it's not what my undergraduate degree is in or anything. So it's not what I thought I was going to do. It's not what I studied to do. But I don't think if I would have done those other things, I would have ended up where I was. So totally worth it. Totally worth it.
That's so awesome.
Yeah. Yeah.
I agree. We love having you at Mount Baker.
Thank you. Thanks. I remember when you were a student.
I know. I was just thinking about that because I was trying to remember. I don't remember you as a paraeducator or volunteer.
Yeah, no, right. Right. Because I did that and then I went back to graduate school to become a counselor. So it was like during that time I decided that's what I really wanted to do. I applied to graduate school and then I was super fortunate, and Mr. Marston, I asked him if I could be his intern. And so while I was in graduate school, I got to intern with him and go back to Mount Baker. And then I got a job there. So.
And that's when I remember meeting you. So that's awesome.
Yeah. Cool. Super. I'm really grateful and fortunate for all of that and all the people who made that happen. So,
such a good community. Well, the next question that we always ask is what's something encouraging that you can offer, or maybe it's a challenge to people during this really difficult time?
Yeah. So what I'm going to talk about very briefly is I think it's also a challenge for me. So I'm not just like putting it out there for other people, but I think it's, I have found that being present, whether it's with my work or my kids, is very, very, it's always been something that's been hard for me. But now it's especially difficult. I'm working from home. I have small children. They need me, work needs me. I need to like find my own balance too. And so I think my challenge to all of us is to just take a few minutes when we can, and all of this uncertainty, to just be present. And I think what I've found for me, like there's all kinds of things right now that are out of our control that I can't do anything about, and you can't do anything about, and our students can't do anything about. But there are some very small things that are within our control. And so I try to remind myself of that. Sometimes I walk through my backyard without my shoes on and just feel grass. Sometimes I breathe. Sometimes I just stop what I'm doing and I sit down and build a marble set with my 5-year-old, or try to do reading with my 7-year-old. But I think, I don't know, as people in general, it's difficult. And now I think it's especially difficult because there are so many things that are unknown. So I guess my challenge to myself and to everyone else is just take a few moments every once in a while to try and be present in the moment and feel what you feel and be okay with that, because it's kind of crazy, and remember to breathe and take your shoes off once in a while and walk in the yard.
Yeah, always getting some fresh air always feels so good.
I know. It makes a big difference. Yeah.
I think it's also, I've experienced that too, that it's been really challenging to like be present especially when there's like everything's on the computer, like you can't, or on your phone, you can't separate like work from home anymore. It's just all.
And I'm not good at that at all. It's definitely, beyond what's happening right now, that's never been a strong suit of mine. I'm definitely like a work is work and home is home. And I think in some respects it's really awesome and it allows me to do my job. But I think it's also like now all of a sudden I'm like, those things are colliding and it doesn't make sense and my head is exploding. And it's like I'm working, but I'm really like looking at like how dirty like my floor is. Like, I don't know. It's really hard. It's super hard. I definitely have a crazier mind than I've ever had before. And so every day I have to remind myself to like separate the things, be with the one thing you're doing and let the rest go. And then, when the time is right, focus on something else. But it's been really hard. And it's definitely not something I'm very good at. So I'll work on it.
Well, so will we all.
Yes. Yes.
Cool. Well, thank you so much for being here and being a part of this project. It's really fun and it's cool to just hear everybody's stories. So
yeah, we really appreciate it. Sometimes it's nice to tell it, so thanks for giving us the opportunity to do that.
Yeah, of course. It's an honor, really. So, all right. Well, I hope you have a good rest of your night, and we will talk to you soon.
Sounds good. Thanks.